everyone. Greetings. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Welcome to the annual event known as the Steve Deace Show Year in Review, Part 1. Part 2 is tomorrow. That'll be our final show of the year. It'll be our top 10 stories of the year. We'll look back on my predictions from the year prior, what I thought was going to happen in 2025 that likely did not, and then our clip of the year and all that kind of good stuff. But you guys know what Part 1 is. It is time for the year-end Deace Group. It is your yearly look at the year that was. Let's introduce our panel. Of course, chivalry is not dead on this set. She is lovely, she is talented, but she might be the most natural-born killer at this network, Sara Gonzales. All right, do not look. Do not let the beauty commercial before you. Do not let it fool you. She will cut you now. I've seen it. All right, and that's why we love her. Sara, our beloved sister and colleague, it is great to have you back with us again this year. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. I wore my ugly Christmas dress just for you, Steve. I'm ready to get festive.
I noticed it right away. I absolutely loved it. So yes, we are ready. We are here for you, Todd Erzin. How are you, my friend? You ready to go?
I'm outstanding. This is always one of the best times of year for 100 reasons, and this is certainly one of them.
You already look like you're ready for winter. You've got the full beard with the salt, right? Are you coming down the chimney? Are you dropping any presents off for people this year? You're about 50 pounds away from being Santa Claus yourself, my friend.
Well, I'm trying to put those on.
And of course, without Aaron McIntyre, we would not be able to pull this thing off each and every year, let alone each and every day. Aaron, we are embarking upon show 239 for the year. Are you sick of us yet?
Yes. Yep.
All right, so I think we're good here. And then last, but certainly least, he has returned. It's been about a year. We have been trying to make it work from a scheduling standpoint, but in his new gigs, working with the folks over at Reason. And, of course, he's here on a personal capacity, not on behalf of Reason magazine or website. And you guys know what I think of libertarians. 100% right 80% of the time. And then the other 20%, you're like, what planet do you think we actually live on? And what realm within the Marvel Cinematic Universe do you believe this is? And that is our good friend. He has returned. Merry Christmas. In fact, he flew all the way out here and really just enjoyed his commute. I know he wants to personally thank the American airline industry. Really enjoyed his 4 hours yesterday at O'Hare Airport, looking out the window, texting me his pondering of when to begin self-harm. But at least he found out that if you push that red button on the toilet seats there at O'Hare, it does rotate and give you a new wrapping around the seat. So you learned that yesterday. Our good friend Paul Alexander is back. Paul, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Furious.
Why would that be?
I have nothing against Sara, all right? And I know she can probably kick my ass, but I was told explicitly if I flew to Iowa in these subhumane temperatures that I would be in the same studio with Jill Savage, and she is nowhere to be seen. I even got a letter, okay, from Aaron inviting me explicitly with that promise. Let me show you. Paul, come visit the studio. Jill will be here. Sparks could fly. True love will prevail. And every day will be another beautiful secret. Oron McIntyre.
That's
Different guy.
different guy. Different guy, Paul.
Sorry, Aaron.
That's all right. Different guy. And
It's one time that I'm glad to, or I'm kind of mad to be confused with him. The one time.
yes, I believe that Jill is currently hanging out with her friend. Restraining order. I believe that she's with him now. Okay. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right.
All right. So we have no idea what your takes are on literally anything.
And mine for yours.
All right. Because you have. I mean, you've been in the libertarian bunker.
Yeah.
All right. You've been producing content for Reason. You've not been listening to our show as much. You used to be a regular listener to the show. You have not kept up on it. You're probably maybe loosely seen some things on X or something, and that's about it. Yeah. All right. So, I mean, this could get interesting.
Buckle up.
Yeah. We have no idea what angles he is going to come from. All right. So,
nothing is personal.
all right. Are we ready to begin? Are we ready?
Let's go.
Wow,
think so.
that was enthusiastic. I think we're fired up. Yes. All right, let's begin. You guys know how it works. We have a collection of categories that I've completely ripped off from the annual year-end McLaughlin group, just like we ripped off this entire segment, the theme, the branding, the imaging, everything. But because it's public broadcasting, we're subsidizing it, and John McLaughlin is dead now, I think it's okay. And they haven't sued us yet. All right? So let us begin. Biggest winner. Paul, let's just go. You know what? No. Chivalry's not dead. Jill, we go to you first. Ladies first. Go ahead.
Well, my name is Sarah. It's nice to meet you, Steve.
What did I say? Did I say Jill? Yeah. You're grounded for doing that. Okay? You are grounded. I apologize to Sara Gonzales for that. My bad. Thank you. Sara Gonzales, biggest winner. Yes, my apologies.
Biggest winner, I'm just going to go ahead and say, we have our fair share of problems here in this country. Obviously, we haven't cleaned everything up yet, but I still am going to say the United States of America, because we could have had an entire year. We could be looking back right now at an entire year of President Cackles and Vice President Jazz Hands and tripling down on DEI and all of the insanity, the insane trans policies and everything that they were implementing, open borders, all of that. And instead, the adults, it turns out, that are back in the room are Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And for that, I am very grateful. I say the biggest winner is America.
What did I say, guys? She rebukes me, drops Jazz Hands, and then in the midst of she's got the smile and everything. It's all down pat, all right? And then just comes right out and just slits somebody's throat with her very first answer. And that's what we love about Sara Gonzales. Now, Paul.
Biggest winner would have to be big tech and AI. The executives like Zuckerberg came into this year understanding the mission, blame Joe Biden for all of their horrific decision-making, kill their DEI programs, restore some banned accounts, and then just compliment the president and give money to the inauguration, the White House Easter event, the new ballroom he wants. And now the president is fighting all sorts of federal regulation on AI while also blocking state regulation, so to hell with federalism, I guess. And this is also at the same time where we're giving away public land to these data centers that are in part keeping your electricity bills high, and giving military honors to executives at Meta and OpenAI, despite them having never served in the military. He's also awarding billions in new contracts to these big tech companies, all for mass surveillance programs, while the DHS is claiming an absolute right to collect the biometric data of U.S. citizens without their consent. So big tech won 2025, and the American people and privacy lost.
I had no idea that I had booked Daniel Horowitz for this. Holy cow. This is the first Christmas show on the network our Jewish friend Daniel Horowitz has ever done, because he could have given that answer verbatim. You know why?
Interesting.
Because I have heard that answer verbatim from Daniel on texts, on DMs, on emails, reading Daniel's Twitter feed on this show. Yes, I mean that is a compilation, my friend,
wow,
of Daniel Horowitz's take on the entire AI, the entire AI issue that you just gave his take.
Very interesting.
You are. I mean, you guys are simpatico on that. Todd, biggest winner.
Winner and loser, they're going to be a little layered. Loser can obviously be funny, haha, but my winner of the year is Turning Point USA. Obviously gutted by one of the greatest losses in modern political history. But my initial sentiment in the initial 2 weeks after it happened has been echoed by many people I've heard interviewed about this. And it's something along those lines. I knew Turning Point USA was a big deal, but I had no idea what kind of big deal. It was holding this whole thing together. And obviously going forward, the people there that I know Steve knew a lot of them. I didn't know any of them. Now they've become household names. Their courage under fire, stepping into the gap, keeping the trains running on time. It's been a tour de force. I just think the tip of the cap that they have earned when no one would have blamed them for folding up. I mean, God bless the people of Turning Point USA.
Love that answer. Aaron?
Yeah, I had very specific answers for my first two queries here, but on the way in, I changed them to more meta. I think the biggest winner this year, and in a sense, it's the biggest winner every year because it will be the biggest winner at the end of history. But I think the gospel is the biggest winner this year, despite the fact that we have seen spiritual attacks, real attacks, attacks on attacks. I think the gospel, especially after the martyrdom of Charlie Kirk and that singular event at his memorial, that getting out to millions upon millions, but tens of millions of people, I think the gospel is the biggest winner of 2025.
Love that answer. Should have had you go last. Because I hate my answer, but it's what I really think, unfortunately. And I know Paul's going to hate this answer. I know you will. Okay. But I think Mamdani is the biggest winner of the year. He conquered America's greatest city and the entire Democratic Party. The Democrats started out the year after losing to Trump again, flirting with sanity. I recall Gavin Newsom launching a podcast whose first guest was Charlie Kirk, if you guys remember that. Okay. They tried. Some Democrats, to their credit, tried to get the message of the last election. A few did. They got absolutely ran over in like 10 minutes. They got absolutely ran over. Okay. And now what they ended up being is Mamdani. After they blew that up, Mamdani is the fulfillment now. The Democratic transition to a full-bore Marxist political party. It's not just a talking point or a trope now in righty media. I mean, just look at the way the campaign unfolded, where they wanted nothing to do with him during the primary, even for months after he won or finished first in that primary. It was literally just the last few weeks when it was clear the fate was accompli. The dark embrace was made. Anybody who was anybody in the Democratic Party signed on. And the Islamists conquered the Democratic Party, and I think that's the biggest win anybody had in the year. I mean, he got recognized. You know, Mamdani going to the White House is like China recognizing Taiwan. Basically, it had to be recognized. This is an official state. This is an official movement now. So I think he is the biggest winner of the year. Biggest loser, I will start, and I think this one's probably pretty self-explanatory. It's the loss of our apostolic leader, Charlie Kirk, and it's our side. That meme, I can't tell you how many times I think of that meme where the giant dam is holding back a massive volume of water called retardation, and the dam is labeled Charlie Kirk. And a lot of people, I think, that were not involved in some of the conversations that in the last year Charlie involved me in privately with others, I think are now seeing just how much of a barrier he was to holding back, shall we say, some nefarious elements. And now freak flags flying abound to the point that, you know, I guess the most profitable thing you can do in our industry now is try to grift off a grieving widow who had to watch her husband be a victim of the most public murder in human history. And it took months for most of our peers to say a damn thing about it and just, you know, acted like they had no idea this was going on. Okay. That's just a nutshell. I mean, let's retcon Hitler. Let's reconsider World War II. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Let's reconsider the last time we all were agreed on a fight that we thought was clearly good and evil. Let's go back and deconstruct that. Who needs postmodernists on the left? We're just as good at it sometimes on our own side. And I think just the void he leaves, the tragedy of what occurred, the image that I wish I would have never watched of my friend's murder, it'll never get out of my brain. And I think much of the festering division that you see on our side, frankly, would just not be happening if he were still alive. Todd.
Again, this is not loser, ha. My loser is Tucker Carlson. I've got and still do have a lot of respect for Tucker Carlson. But unlike some of the other names that are going to come up within Con Inc., Tucker still is a leader in this movement. But he was a leader to the extent that people were talking about he might be run for president. And now people, when Tucker comes up, it's inevitably about some level of damage control. And that's just a damn shame because he is talented. I do believe he's a patriot. I don't believe he's just a mere grifter or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But the movement has suffered because of his mistakes and mistakes that we just can't afford.
We've been asked to clean up collectively as an industry, a few Tucker Carlson accidents this year.
And I've been a Tucker, I've been the biggest Tucker apologist about his just asking questions with weird guys because I think,
Paul works at Reason, so he's okay with that. Yeah.
Because I think there's the old way.
Tell him I said Merry Christmas, Paul. Yeah.
The old way of conservative gatekeeping didn't work either. We did need something else.
Right.
But he's gone too far with it. And, but we need the old Tucker back.
Aaron.
So my first two are correlated. It's a correlated parlay, if you will. But I think the biggest loser this year is the gates of hell. And it's for everything that you just said about Charlie Kirk. I think hell has a tendency to overplay its hand. The gospel getting out to that massive audience and some of the displays of unity in the immediate aftermath were quite astounding. And I think the reason why you're seeing so much of the division being sown, so much of the infighting, whatever you want to call it, on the right now is because I think hell is maybe feeling threatened at the moment. So that's my biggest loser of the year.
I love that answer. Sarah?
Well, Steve, I was going to say the biggest loser of the year was actually Steve Deace, because last time I saw him, he literally looked like he had lost so much weight. You're like shrinking, the incredible shrinking man. You look great.
Thank you.
But then I thought that might be seen as sucking up to the host of the show.
I'm just glad you remembered my name. I'm just glad you did that. Yes, the bar is low. Yes.
Instead, I'll think of another name to call you before the end of this show, maybe.
We can think of some names to call him, Sarah. That's
yes,
Glenn.
Ones that are appropriate, I mean. But instead, I was going to go with, actually, I said my biggest winner was America. My biggest loser was also America, but for the reasons that you guys said so insightfully about Charlie Kirk, losing such a thought leader. Losing, a guy who really, it feels like now was keeping this entire movement together. It was just such a loss for this country, such a loss for the younger generation, such a loss for these college kids who he changed, their trajectory oftentimes. And we've lost that. And I think that, I won't go into all of the details you guys just so eloquently said, but we lost one that I don't think, will never be replaced. And Steve, to your point, and I hate to bring us down, I'm sure it'll get lighter, but Steve, to your point, it's the image that just will never get out of my head. Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe we're meant to remember that. Maybe it's going to inspire us in the future to do everything for Charlie. I wear my We Are Charlie Kirk wristband that I got at the memorial, which, Aaron, to your point, was like, I've never felt the presence of Jesus more than I did in that moment. But he is irreplaceable and he will be missed.
Paul?
My biggest loser is MAGA as a conservative movement. So aside from the rhetoric,
you're just going to give all of Daniel Horowitz's answers, apparently, correct? You're summing up every column he's written for the Blaze. This is not every column Daniel's written all year long. Go ahead, yes, by all means. See, I think you think you're being provocative, but our audience, this is Wednesday, the second hour on Wednesday, because this is Daniel every week on Steve's show. Go ahead, yes.
Okay, I mean, aside from the rhetoric, like our president claiming excessive criticism of him is actually illegal, or his top advisor endorsing the idea of suspending habeas corpus. If we just look at the policy agenda, the One Big Beautiful Bill will add $3 trillion to the national debt. We are now subsidizing our farmers at 4 times the rate Joe Biden was.
Welcome to Iowa.
Plus this new $12 billion in aid, because these tariffs have not worked out as planned. And then we have, he wants to send out stimulus checks for everything from Doge to the tariffs, despite having the greatest economy ever, because his economic approval is underwater. The government is now taking ownership stake in companies like Intel, and they want to have 25% of the profit from NVIDIA on foreign chip sales. And finally, federal police in Chicago are banning prayer demonstrations outside of ICE facilities. So we're now banning prayer.
I'm in favor of that one, by the way. I was kind of with you on the last one, but I'm in favor of that. I'm just go ahead and go ahead.
Well, to me, if that's conservatism in 2025, then no thanks.
Have you guys ever seen Daniel in a coat and tie before?
I may have to go on Daniel's show.
I'm not kidding you. I am not kidding. Dude, just go on Daniel's podcast. Just start reading through the year long of programming. I
just got a text from Daniel. Can I have Paul's contact information?
Yes. What's Paul doing tonight? Yes, indeed. Yeah. So you struck out on Jill, but Daniel's around. All right. So let's get to best politician. Paul, I'll go back to you. Go ahead.
Best politician is my former boss, Tulsi Gabbard, who earlier this year had a moment of her fierce independent streak rearing its head when she claimed that Iran was in fact not close to acquiring a nuclear weapon. And then when it looked as though she was about to lose her job, she made a shameless 180 in record time without any explanation. Following that, she decided she was going to accuse President Obama of treason just to make sure she got back in the good graces of President Trump. And even though this is a person who spent her entire political career railing against U.S. regime change operations, now that we're essentially carrying one out in Venezuela, she has fallen in line and kept her mouth shut because Tulsi really wants to be governor of Texas in 2030. So, Tulsi Gabbard, you are the politician of 2025, and I acknowledge you, my tribal chief.
Well, listen, that's the first answer that Daniel would not have given. He would not have given that answer. So your independence has been reinstated, my friend. Go ahead, Todd. Yes.
JD Vance, for obvious reasons. He's just really, really good at this. He absolutely should be as close to we can get to it in this frame of government we have, anointed, because he is that good. And he obviously scares the hell out of the Democrats. They don't know what to do with him. They keep trying to tear him down. It never works. God bless J.D. Vance.
I'm going to go with Abigail Spanberger. She overcame arguably the most cringy viral debate moment possible in the social media world, right? And she still got elected governor of Virginia by a whopping 15 points. That event happened like a week and a half before the election. She still won by 15 points. So she's just got to be one hell of a politician. I don't know what other conclusion to draw. Okay, I mean you can sit there on a debate stage and have nothing to offer about one of your fellow party members advocating the murders and deaths of his political opponents, and just sit there and just give a blank stare into the camera for what was that 3, 4, 5 minutes. Have nothing at all, right? Millions of people are watching. And then after that, you can turn around and win by 15. She's just got to be the greatest politician of 2025. I don't know what other conclusion I can draw from that, right? Aaron.
J.D. Vance, the way he's been able to navigate, especially the last 3 months, has been pretty astounding. He makes some people very angry. He delights some people, but trying to navigate the right in this time, in this era, very difficult to do, and he's been able to do that pretty much unscathed.
Sarah?
I'm going with JD Vance as well. He's just masterful every time he gives these interviews. He's up on a stage. He knows exactly what to say. He knows exactly how to say it. And on top of that, he is just truly masterful at social media. I know, you know what? Maybe Paul doesn't like the mean tweets. I personally think that America has been yearning for that.
America's sweetheart, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, there she is again. Yes.
Who doesn't take himself so seriously, who isn't like so stuffy and says the things that everyone is thinking. And I just think that he really is the most obvious person to be the America First heir. And in some cases, I trust him on some of those issues more than I trust President Trump. So I'm going with JD Vance.
What more could you want? Makeup on point, dress on point, wife, mom, and then she comes out with, personally, I just think we need to be meaner on Twitter. What more could you want? What more America want than that?
There's one thing I want. There's a missed opportunity behind her. Under Come and Take It, there needs to be like a bedazzled 12-gauge shotgun or something.
Yes. In fact, she's going to run out after the show and do that, right? That'll be there next year when she's on. Yes.
I'll get it. You can't see it. It's off screen, but I have my giant Liberty safe right over here with the bedazzled AR-15 in there.
There you go.
So I just need to display it next year.
That's just America right there. That's just good living right there. I don't know what else to say. That's just good living right there. All right, Paul, most defining political moment.
I was tempted to say the Liberation Tariff Day announcement, just because I think if the economy doesn't improve, it really has a chance of defining the second administration. But
sort of like Bush and Mission Accomplished, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. But then November came around, and Virginia deciding to elect Jay Jones as their attorney general after he explicitly fantasized about murdering his political opponent and their children. To me, that sort of best defined our collective numbness as a nation to this increasingly vile rhetoric and accepting political violence as a norm. So that would be the most defining political moment for me.
Sad amen to that, Todd.
I just think there's only one answer. It's Charlie's assassination on so many levels.
It's the same answer I have. I mean, it's the most watched murder in human history. It's the most viewed Christian martyrdom in human history. It's the most impactful religious or political martyrdom domestically since MLK. And then it led to a memorial that gave us the largest presentation of the gospel in all of human history. So I have the same answer. Sarah, what about you?
Mine is the same as well. Charlie being assassinated in front of, the world. And I would say to that as well, it was very clarifying. It showed who people really were, because to Paul's point about, Jay Jones, to Paul's point, it really showed who wants to celebrate death and who was better than that. It was very, very defining. You had people getting expelled from schools, the way that they were celebrating, the things that people were saying online. It ruined people's careers. And you could maybe make the argument that that's not fair. I personally won't make that argument because I think it's completely fair. But it was very defining, and it was very clarifying to see where we're at in this country in 2025 with regard to political violence.
Aaron, well said.
So I agree with all of that, and I figured that would be the selection for most. So I'm going back before this, and I think the same forces that murdered Charlie Kirk are the same that's behind mine. And I want to go back to the State of the Union speech. If you'll recall, incredibly inspiring, incredibly encouraging, very pro-America, very pro-reality. And in the middle of all that, an old congressman, Al Green, got up and started yelling and got ejected in the middle of a very inspiring speech. Those are just forces that are hell-bent on chaos and destruction. And so I think prior to that, this probably would have been my answer, just because it's symbolic on a lot of levels.
All right, let's see if we can get through this one quick. We got about 3 minutes before the first break. Biggest traitor. Aaron, I'll let you lead it off again. Go.
Oh, man. Targets galore. Let's go Tom Tillis, though. I mean, he has been just a chink in the chain for this entire administration. He's leaving. He's exiting stage right. But really, from the word go, he's been trying to sabotage Trump from the very inception of his second administration.
Like when he was trying to kamikaze Pete Hegseth during the confirmation in January. Yep. Todd.
Candace Owens, just an absolute witch of a human being.
That's my answer. This is one of the most treacherous heel turns in the history of modern media, or certainly in the history of the modern American right. Turning Trust Me Bro, basically rebranding Gnosticism into Trust Me Bro. This is something otherworldly. These are forces beyond ourselves compelling people to do these kinds of things.
Look at how universal our agreement is on the stakes of what happened with Charlie.
Yep.
She is targeting his widow as we speak.
Yeah. To turn a grieving widow of the most high-profile murder in modern history into your griftathon is just dark. Paul.
Any and all perpetrators of political violence, from the scumbag who assassinated Charlie Kirk to the person who shot those two Minnesota lawmakers, to the person who tried to commit arson on Governor Shapiro, to the one who just shot and killed the National Guards person in D.C. These people go against everything this country is supposed to stand for, and they're the biggest traitors.
Amen. Sarah.
I'm going with the Somalian refugees escaping their country because it sucks so bad to come here to command that we cater to them, fly their flags, and do so all while stealing record amounts of taxpayer money to funnel to terror groups.
Can't argue with that either. I can't argue. And the evidence with Ilan, if you're not going to deport her, then at this point, just stop complaining. No more complaints than about immigration, invasion. It's just a grift. It's a talking point. It's a meme. It's obvious the whole thing is a scam. Married her brother. The whole thing. The evidence is overwhelming. So if you can't deport that mind virus, then what are we even? At that point, then just let the people continue to be the gardeners and the fruit pickers. What are we doing here then? You see? Then what's the point? That's the thing I get frustrated with, is getting my audience all fired up about things that in the back of my mind, I'm like, we're never going to do anything about this. So what was the point of the show that I just did? You ever feel that tension, Sarah? I feel it all the time.
Yes, I do. And I grapple with it, because President Trump will go on the stage and he'll, talk about Ilhan Omar, and he'll say she married her brother on a stage in front of thousands of people. Okay, let's do something about that then. She clearly has not renounced or denounced Somalia. She says she's here to cater to their interests. What are we doing?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. All right, we'll come back. More year-end Deace Group. Pick it up where we left off here in a moment. Stay tuned. right, back here with the special, the one you look forward to all the year long, Clark. The year-end Deace Group. Myself, I'm Steve Deace with Todd Erz and Aaron McIntyre, our beloved friend and colleague, Sara Gonzales. And then the man, the myth, what the hell are you talking about? Paul Alexander is here as well. Good to see you, my friend.
I didn't get the beloved intro. No.
Well, we called you a man. We called you a myth.
All right.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Let's begin. Pick it up where we left off, Paul. I will just go right to you. Most boring.
So I will preface this by saying I am not a proponent of DEI programs or affirmative action or any sort of racial quota hiring. I have personally been the target of hiring discrimination because I am a heterosexual white male, so I understand what that feels like. But blaming DEI for everything that goes wrong in the country has become rather boring for me. The LA wildfires, DEI. The plane crashing in D.C., DEI. A bridge collapses, DEI.
Can I blame Sharon Moore, who the Michigan football coach? Can I blame that as a DEI?
Can I
throw that?
Do whatever you want.
Can I do that as a Michigan fan?
When something goes wrong, just because an agency that oversees it has a DEI program, 1 + 1 does not equal 3, and it's just become white noise to me at this point.
There is some boogeyman aspect to it, but it's a little bit like the old FM DJ days, where the old motto was, just when the DJ is getting sick of the song, that's when the audience is starting to really dig it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So for those of us that operate at this level here, I can see why you'd have that take. But we're probably just now getting into the gen pop where it's okay to even say this out loud. But I hear what you're saying. Todd.
Pam Bondi. Whoever's in that spot should have an Elvis-level following right now because of the rock star status of all of the arrests that they've been having.
Wow.
I don't care, male or female, women should be throwing their underwear at whoever is in that position right now because they are just so
booked on every one of our shows.
Yes.
But Sara Gonzales, would you have Pam Bondi on your show to do anything other than ask her, what the hell have you been doing all year long?
Absolutely not.
What does that tell you?
Boring.
That is a great, holy cow, Todd. That is an incredible take. I didn't even dawn on me. This is the ultimate grifting position. Yeah. Who's going to challenge JD for the nomination? This should be the position. You're on the front lines of the issue, accountability, transparency. Our base cares more about that than literally anything.
This is the quality you get when you're not a DEI hire, right here.
Well played.
No, seriously, brother, that is a great take. Wow. Sara, most boring.
Most boring for me is every single media report from the mainstream media trying to convince me that President Trump is frail and in poor health when he, of course, his predecessor was literally like dying every day in office. We had the weekend at Bernie's president, and now I have to hear from CNN and MSNBC that President Trump is close to death. The guy gives more press conferences than anyone I've ever seen. He's talking with the media more than anyone I've ever seen. He's on Air Force One, flying out, talking to the media, answering questions. He's clearly fine. Say what you will about President Trump, but he is, in some regards, healthier than men half of his age. So I'm bored with it. I'm ready to move on.
Trump reminds me of that clip of Ozzie Guillen talking about how he thinks guys train too hard and are too muscular these days. He's like, when I played, man, guys were smoking half pack of cigarettes, doing a case of beer and a 20-piece McNugget. No one ever got hurt. You don't pull fat. Yeah, like nobody's on the DL for pulling fat. They're on the DL for pulling muscles. Have you heard that? Have you seen that clip? Yes. Trump kind of reminds me of that. I'm just out here just dropping fish sandwiches at 1 a.m. on Air Force One. Yeah. All right, I'm good. I'll see you in a few hours. Yeah, exactly. All right, I'm gonna give my most boring 2024 and 2025 when adjusted for inflation are on pace to be the worst consecutive years minus a scamdemic in Hollywood history, back to back. And most of what they're churning out is not even interesting. It's not even interesting. Like in a past era when they wanted to produce just flat out countercultural propaganda or that era's generation of woke, you still got phenomenal films. Otherwise the propaganda wouldn't have worked and people wouldn't have said, easy rider, I want that life. I just want to be a complete burnout and well into my 20s and prolong adolescence on a motorcycle. That they had to make a good movie. Now they don't even make good movies. Like I would actually, it would be an upgrade to go back to effective propaganda films. That would be an upgrade of what we're getting right now. It's not even entertaining. It's just cliches of tropes and tropes of tropes. And people have just largely tuned out. And you can see now I mean, Warner Brothers is the venerable studio in all of Hollywood. All right. And it's a carcass right now that, Paul's AI buddies, the Ellisons, and Netflix are arguing and fighting over, that's the last studio left still producing some content that people still want to watch, and they can't survive. I mean, it's just Hollywood has decided we're cooked, and it's like they've just given up. I guess we're just going to go ahead and just check, DEI and representation boxes out the door. We've just given up on profit around here, just given up on it. Aaron.
Most boring. I was going to say the Department of Justice for everything that Todd said, because that encompasses both the FBI and the Attorney General's office, because this was one of the areas, the very first executive order that President Trump signed amidst his avalanche of executive orders that he signed so far this year. The very first one was titled Ending the Weaponization of the Federal Government. And so we had massive expectations, rightfully so, especially given what has happened to Trump and his family. We had massive expectations for both the Attorney General and the FBI, and those expectations, it seems a shame to talk about what this Department of Justice has not done and the word expectations in the same sentence, because it has been an epic failure to this point.
Zero. Been a zero. Most charismatic, I'll start. My answer is very short. That's why. I just think it's obviously President Trump every year until proven otherwise. Nobody dominates the overall landscape as he does. I think we'll even come close until he is gone. Todd.
It's an extension of Trump. I know you'll agree. But Stephen Miller,
Yep.
Man, it's like when he's doing an interview, it's like the coach doing the pregame huddle and he's talking to the team. He's like, we're going to beat them on offense. We're going to beat them on defense. And you're just like, let's go crack some skulls.
Yes. I love Stephen Miller. Paul, who I know is a huge Stephen Miller fan.
Yes.
It pains me to say this, but Zohran Mamdani, he went from a complete political
It is a good answer. Yeah.
to the mayor of New York City in the span of 1 year. And the number of people that reached out to me with just social media clips who aren't particularly politically engaged, that were just like, I want to hang out with this guy. Mm-hmm. He brought in so many new voters to that election, and it's difficult to argue.
Sarah?
I agree with President Trump for all of the reasons you mentioned. It's very, very clear. You spend more than 5 seconds listening to him, and it's immediately clear it will be President Trump until he leaves the arena.
Aaron?
Stephen Miller, his speech at the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and he's given a lot of great answers in media appearances on a lot of other issues, but his speech at the Charlie Kirk Memorial was the first time I really believed that maybe we have the will to do what needs to be done. When it comes to dealing with left-wing violence or political violence of any nature. To my knowledge and from my vantage point, doing what needs to be done has not been done yet, but it's Stephen Miller for me.
All right, next up, Bummest Rap, Paul.
The United States. It really sucked seeing the Canadians boo our national anthem earlier this year. Pride in America, according to Gallup, is at an all-time historic low. We currently rank 24th in global happiness, which is our lowest ranking ever. I know we're facing challenges right now, but I'm still very proud to be an American. I think this is the greatest country on earth, and it doesn't deserve the bum rap that it's gotten this year.
My man.
Just a love fest.
It is. My man. Now you're back to giving answers Daniel Horowitz could give again. You did it again. You did it. All right, Aaron, back to you. Yes.
I don't know. Canadians booing our national anthem makes me pretty happy. Bummest rap, the Jews. The Jews.
Oh, this is a good one. Yes.
Have gotten the bummest rap.
No. The Jews.
I'm sorry. The Jews have gotten the bummest rap this year.
I've got the exact same answer, the Jews. Enough.
Yeah. So the Jews are going to get called out, even while we call out those calling out the Jews. I like it. All right, Sarah, bummest rap.
Bummest rap for me was Secretary of War Pete Hegseth being called a war criminal for, of course, the Department of War simply protecting American citizens from illegal drugs pouring into our country and killing Americans. And by the way, I will just say, do you know who agrees with me? Of course, Joe Biden circa 1989, when he gave a speech saying that we needed to go seek out these narco terrorists where they live and destroy them before they brought harm to Americans.
Well, clearly, that was a long time ago, Sarah. Clearly, the drug problem in America has been on the decline since then, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
My bummest rap, you all did this to me. I want you to know that. You did this to me. Because, man, I started my career questioning things like premillennial dispensationalism, and is this really the prophetic iteration of Israel as I'm in my theological exploration phase. But I want you all to know, because my answer is kind of the a tailwind of what Todd and Aaron's answers are. Y'all did this to me, all right? You have put me in a position now that I am defending dispensationalism. All right, Bummus Rap. This is kind of my version in my evangelical subculture of what you just said about DEI.
Okay.
I mean, X is full of people who can't spell dispensationalism, have no idea what it is. Right? But it's just all there. It's just all there. You know, it's our foreign policy. It has become an absolute boogeyman. It's become a buzzword. Most people have no clue what it is, where it came from, what it means. They come to think it is the only vestige of Christianity that ever believed there would be a country named Israel ever again, or a Jewish homeland ever again. It is absolutely not true. All right. Even guys like Jonathan Edwards, there's probably no America without Jonathan Edwards, if we're being honest. And if you look at some of Edwards' writings, sometimes you'd be like Jonathan Edwards or Nick Fuentes on the Jews. You decide. Jonathan Edwards thought there was going to be a future nation of Israel at the end where God would call the Jews home for one final harvest to Messiah before the end would come. All right. So even in anti-Semitic eras of the church, they still believed there was going to be an Israel again. All right. The whole thing's just become dumb. And you guys know when it gets dumb, I get mad. All right. Disagree with me all you want until it gets dumb. If it gets dumb, I get mad when it gets dumb. I can't handle the dumb. Don't do retard. Never go full retard. Don't do that. Don't. And dispensationalism as a term has made a lot of people full retard this year. And I'm out. I'm defending this. I'm speaking at the Southern Baptist Convention next year. I'm out. Okay. Ferris Rap, Todd.
Well, speaking of full retard, the Ferris Rap is, of course, Connor Stallions.
Oh my God.
The arch villain that now, with the news of recent days, come on, this is what I tell you. This is serious. This isn't a punchline. The explaining.
He's going to get a huge kick out.
The explaining away. Oh, kind of, sort of, not really. If you look at it from a certain angle, not really cheating. That's the whole Michigan football program. 7 arrests. I believe it might be 4 people who are, including him, expelled from the game. This is what idolatry does. He went full retard. He's a perfect poster child for that entire program. It deserves the fate it's currently under. I hope it learns its lessons, but I'm not going to hold my breath.
Really enjoyed my dinner outside Wrigley with Connor earlier this year. Paul?
Fairest rep would have to be our president's reputation for making hiring decisions based on personal loyalty and television charisma over competence. We had Pete Hegseth share sensitive attack plans on Signal with his wife and lawyer using his personal computer on an unsecured internet line, which I was told was a crime when Hillary Clinton did it. We had Pam Bondi make a spectacle of releasing all the Epstein files only to walk that back and claim she was misled.
Now, hold on. You can't possibly be more pissed off about that one than all of us are.
Probably
but
not.
Go ahead.
Probably
go ahead.
not.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the disaster that is Kash Patel. I won't even go into that.
Another one you probably can't be more pissed off about than the rest of us are, but go ahead. Yes.
RFK Jr., who's done some things that I like, who put out the Maha report that was clearly AI generated because it contained numerous studies that simply did not exist. And then we have Alina Habba, the lawyer who did a horrific job of representing the president last year in his court proceedings, appointed to the acting attorney general of New Jersey, the same person who said she would rather be pretty than smart, who has now been disqualified from holding that role because she was never qualified in the first place.
To be fair, she probably was still better than the last person that held that role. All those criticisms aside. Todd, go ahead.
I went. Do you want me to talk about Connor Stallions again?
Oh, yeah, you did go first.
I can do it all day long.
Well, that would then be the bummest rap that I went to you twice. All right, so fairest rap. That's where we are. That's what you let off with, right?
That's what I just did.
All right, so Todd, to you, fairest rap. Yes.
He already did.
That's what I did.
Okay, Aaron, fairest rap. I'm going to get this right sooner or later. Aaron, go ahead. Yes.
Fairest rap, the narco-terrorists that Sarah was just talking about. How's this for a fair rap? You're trying to smuggle poison from one country into another, and you get exploded for it. I think that's pretty fair.
Nice. Nice.
What do you think of that, Paul?
I'll comment. I'll comment on that later.
Apples?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I can't remember Sarah's name. I have no idea what category we're on, and Aaron's trying to literally start a fist fight. All right. We're only 1 hour in. Okay. All right, Sarah, you're up. Go ahead. Fairest rap.
Yes. Fairest rap for me is Tim Walz because President Trump called him retarded, and he's clearly retarded.
Now, see, I took
What do
great
you think
umbrage
of
with
that, Paul?
What do you think of that, Paul?
Not a fan of the usage of that word, but aside the point, I don't really like Tim Wall, so I'll let it stand.
I really took great umbrage with Paul saying that Walz was seriously retarded. He should have said, quote, seriously, the governor of Minnesota is retarded. You should have said that. Fairest rap. I'm going to go with trans equals terrorism, your thing. This is a latch of Pandora's box that society should have never opened. We are dealing, when you get to people's intimate, innate identities, we are dealing with cosmic forces beyond us. And you are entering into Island of Dr. Moreau territory here. And this is the stuff of Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, cautionary tales. You are not the modern Prometheus. You are Icarus flying too close to the sun. And what we have done now with entertaining people who need real spiritual and mental health and guidance, entertaining these fallacies and delusions, drugging them, chemically imbalancing them all the more. And then we just watch this cosmic math, literally the devil's arithmetic, and the dead bodies just line up on the floor over and over and over again. To me, that's the fairest rap when you came up with that line earlier this year. Real quick, let's do it fast, bullet style. Best comeback, Paul.
I wanted to say Joey Chestnut reclaiming his title with 70 and a half hot dogs in 10 minutes, but I'm actually going to give some kudos to President Trump. Border security. Considering where we were just a few years ago, we are now at the lowest level of crossing since 1970. A+ to the president on securing the border.
Great answer. Sarah, best comeback.
Marco Rubio. Who'd have thunk it?
Good answer. Yeah.
I mean, it's like totally an unrecognizable man, and I'm loving it.
I mean, that meme where Rubio's getting another job. Have you seen that one, that look on his face in the White House?
Yes.
All right, I love that. All right, Aaron, yes.
Exact same answer for the same reason.
Those are all great answers so far. Tom.
Tariffs, may not lead to an economic Valhalla, but they are not leading to the economic collapse that everybody insisted they would.
So now you guys are going to fight now after the show, right?
Paul
Fighting everybody. Paul against the world.
By the way, Sara, you said MSNBC before. It's MS Now. Get it right.
They have successfully rebranded, Sarah. All right. My best comeback, I like you guys' answers better than mine, but the Superman brand did recover to some degree this year. Ended up being one of the highest grossing movies of the year. They didn't make a great Superman film. They made a likable Superman film. And they did it filming and not knowing what the political environment was going to be. A year later, releasing the film, and they kind of just went right down the fairway. So, plus that's, I love me Superman. So I'm going to give him best comeback. All right, we'll come back. We'll lead it off with most original thinker. And we'll do that here to lead off hour 2 next. All right, back here with hour 2 here on BlazeTV radio and podcast. We always love it when you tell us what you think about what we think, even if we don't think you agree. Steve@stevedeace.com is the email address. DEACE. Like us on Facebook, me, we, and Gab. You can follow me at Steve Deace Show on Instagram, TikTok, and X. Subscribe, please, to our new YouTube channel at Deace Show on YouTube. DEACE. And if you are a podcast listener, thank you. You're the biggest part of our audience. Please leave us a 5-star review if you like the show. Now, if you don't like the show, we would not ask you to lie, obviously. But if you kind of like the show, we wouldn't ask you to exaggerate. All right. So we just want 1 and 5-star reviews. And you guys have ponied up. We've gotten thousands of 1 stars, tens of thousands of 5 stars. So thank you for each and every one of those. And you can also make sure to hit subscribe, or if you're listening via Apple iTunes, follow. And that's how you'll know for sure that every time we do a new episode, it's in your podcast feed for sure. So thanks for that, too. Let's continue on with our yearly look at the year that was. The year-end Deace Group: Sara Gonzales, Aaron McIntyre, Todd Erzin, Paul Alexander. Sarah, we begin with you. Most original thinker as we kick off hour 2.
My most original thinker has to be RFK Jr. as Health and Human Services Secretary. You had a medical industrial complex that continued making Americans sicker, making Americans more dependent on, of course, medicine and the government. And you finally had someone come up and say, you know what? Maybe the things we're doing aren't working. Maybe the fact that our children are sicker than ever is a bad thing. Maybe we have record amounts of obesity, and that can't be good. Maybe we should just rethink this entire system because all of the government experts led us into this mess. So for me, for very obvious reasons, I'm sure to you guys in the Maha movement, especially Todd, it's got to be RFK Jr.
That's why it was my same answer.
Okay.
And I was going to use the same terminology. As deep as the deep state is on numerous fronts, it doesn't go any deeper than the medical industrial complex. I don't think most people, even within Maha, who are coming to it late, don't fully understand how, just like with Charlie and what he's holding together, people are very frustrated with the pace of change, but without RFK Jr., I guarantee you we wouldn't be close to where we are. I mean, Donald Trump might not even be president. We talked about that. It is the power of his personality on this issue and his consistency over the years in taking the slings and arrows of a deep state apparatus that is as malicious as it is anywhere. It's Sarah seconded, absolutely.
Amen. Aaron.
Most original thinker is Stephen Mirren. He was chair of the Council of Economic Advisors. Now he's on the Fed Board of Governors. He wrote the User's Handbook or User's Guide for Resetting Global Trade last year, which provided a very ingenious, not solution, but at least a proposal for dealing with the China problem when it comes to free trade. How does free trade account for a mercantilist society like China? And his idea was basically very targeted and slowly building up tariffs targeted at China alone. That obviously is not the plan that the Trump administration ran with. But I thought his writing on how to deal with China and trade, some of the most original stuff that I've seen. Don't know if it would work, but it was original nonetheless.
All right, good. You got me to read some of his stuff. So Aaron is an evangelist of this guy. Paul.
I think Sarah and Todd's answer is great. RFK Jr. has done some good things. For me, living in New York City, the homeless epidemic is very real. I see it every day. There are a lot of mentally unstable people roaming the streets, and no one has really come up with a great solution to fix it quite yet. But then one morning, I was actually watching Fox News, and Brian Kilmeade came on, and he said, just kill him. I mean, it might be horrific and it might be unchristian, but by God, it is the most original thought I have heard all year. So, Brian Kilmeade, my hat's off to you.
I should have gone before you. Gosh. I'm going to go off the board. And I finished my answers a few weeks ago. But after the interview we just did with Tim Burchett, who has been helming these subcommittees on our side for the last few years on UFOs and UAPs and the answers he did and didn't give us, I'm even more convinced that in the answer I give here. I'm going to say Pastor Colin Samuel, who we had on for an evergreen on Halloween that we taped back in August. He did just a phenomenal 10-part series for the Cultish podcast, connecting the UFO, UAP phenomena, PSYOP, whatever you want to call it, but with the occult, its origins, connected every dot. You could just hear the underpinnings of this and what Tim Burchett just said on the show just a few days ago, okay? So if you're looking for one of the best podcast series that you could listen to on some long, dark, wintry nights, not to mention 2026 is already set up to be the, quote, year of disclosure. Spielberg's coming out of essentially retirement. That's the name of his next film. They're already advertising it there in your backyard. There's a big, giant Times Square Christmas time for a movie with no trailer or nothing yet, okay? So Colin Samuel and his series on UFOs, UAPs, and the occult, I thought that was the most original stuff I heard all year long. All right, let's go most stagnant thinker, and I'm going to start there. Everybody who thought they at least had to pretend to take groypers and open anti-Semitism seriously on X in order to keep their engagement numbers up and grow them, only to then find out weeks later they were getting boosted because of some PSYOP in Qatar or India. I mean, that's just, when Musk put that feature on there, Bangladesh, Nepal, Qatar, Doha, okay, India, I mean, that was just golf clap. Yes. I mean, yes. Todd.
Pope Leo. I'm so sorry. I had high expectations. I mean, there should be excommunications everywhere. He should be walking through every major city in Western.
Bring out your dead.
In Western Europe,
waving
saying,
incense.
Bring out your dead. I cast thee out in the name of the Lord. This is my Pam Bondi question. Women should be throwing their underwear at Pope Leo, but here we are. I'm sorry.
Should have had you go last because that's going to be a tough answer to top. Paul.
Similar to Steve's answer, anyone who's peddling and amplifying anti-Semitism on both the left and the right, whether it's Nick Fuentes or Kanye or Candace on the right, and on the left, we had Zoran Mamdani for months during his campaign refuse to denounce the phrase globalize the Intifada. So it's certainly pervasive on both sides, and it doesn't feel like a great time to be Jewish in America. So the people responsible for that are really stagnant thinkers.
Well said, Sarah.
The stagnant thinker for me is every one of the do-nothing Republicans in Congress who watched President Trump, I guess they slept through the last election, watched President Trump come in and sign a bunch of executive orders because that is what Americans voted for. No more mutilation of children, no more sterilization of children done under the guise of gender-affirming care, no more boys in girl sports. I mean, the list goes on of the things that President Trump had to sign with EO. And instead of doing something to codify all of these policies that Americans voted for, Congress has done absolutely nothing. Instead of moving to impeach these activist judges like Judge Boasberg, who is, of course, unconstitutionally preventing President Trump from implementing some of his agenda that we voted for him to do, instead of doing any of that, they're doing nothing. And they are the most stagnant thinker for me.
That's a great answer. Makes me want to hurt people. But it is a great answer. Aaron.
Correlated with that, blue slip discourse. Never heard of a blue slip before this year. We got Chuck Grassley and John Thune using this as excuses for holding up some of Trump's nominations. I still don't know what a blue slip is.
4 and blue slip ago.
Yeah.
You've never heard that, Aaron?
Now it's starting to ring a bell. What the heck? What is a blue slip? And where did it come from? Where is it going? Anything related
what
to
are
that?
those?
Yes. So John Thune or Chuck Grassley, either one of those.
Sarah, I said on the show the other day, 5 years from now, all right, Democrats have made America a vast wasteland, okay? They put us and John Fetterman on trains, okay? And we're off to the camps. and somewhere John Thune is still pontificating on Fox News about procedure, codicils, traditions, blue slips, and filibusters. Yeah. He's still prattling on? Yes, indeed. All right, I got everybody. I got everybody on most stagnant thinker, right? Okay, best photo op. All right, I will start because this is piggybacks off of what you just said, Todd. Pope Leo XIV blessing a block of ice at a communist climate conference. And that's just how the church has failed the West in one photo right there. One photo op right there is the Catholic Protestant, Tim Keller, put all their names on. Well, let me rephrase that. Tim Keller post 2009. Okay. Put all their names on there. Osteen. Okay. This Pope, the last Pope. That photo op blessing the block of ice at a communist climate conference is what the church has allowed to happen to the West and done to the West in the last era, personified, magnified. Todd.
This is personal to me, very much like with RFK Jr. Early on in the year, the Trump and his executive order about trans sports and the photo op he had of all the girls around the table as he signed it. I mean, that hits home. I've got 4 daughters. They're beautiful. They're unvaxxed, and they paid a price for standing in the gap on this issue as well. A lot of slingers errors for our family. I've laid them out there, but that was a major victory. But that's the lesson there. Never give up.
Sarah, best photo op.
I love that one, Todd.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Mine is Trump and J.D. Vance in the Oval Office, in the White House, just totally sticking it to the belly dancer of Vladimir Zelensky with the stiff arm. There's this one picture, and they're both like, all right, all right, settle down. It was so cathartic for me in that moment to hear them tell Zelensky what I feel like the majority of Americans wanted to tell him. Who are you to come in here and tell me that we are supposed to just give you our money? Don't you have enough already? Aren't you so entitled and ungrateful? Put him in his place. They said all the things that I had wanted to say for so long if I had ever gotten the chance to. And they said it for all of us. And so it was very cathartic for me to see that picture. And every time I see it, I go back to just living in that moment, soaking it up. Finally, someone told him what he needed to hear years ago.
Amen to every syllable of that. Aaron.
I have no idea if it's good or bad yet. I err on the side of skepticism whenever we're talking about an Islamic country. But it was bizarre. I'm not sure if this is best, if that's what you mean by best photo op, but it was certainly the most bizarre photo op. The royal welcome that Trump and the U.S. delegation received in Saudi Arabia earlier this year, just a bizarre sight. Don't know if it's good yet or bad yet. I err on the side of skepticism, but that was bizarre.
All right. Paul.
Yeah, I completely missed that Pope Leo photo, by the way. It didn't even come on my feed, so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
For most of the year, for me, it was Trump and Elon Musk on the White House lawn doing a Tesla commercial, because that kind of embodied what a lot of this second administration has been about to me. But then in November,
we saw the Tesla that Musk left Trump at the White House. Really cool vehicle, by the way.
I mean, I'm sure it is. But then November happened, and guys, the day Jill Savage looks at me, the way our president looks at Zoran Mamdani, I will be the happiest man on the face of the earth.
You know that whole thing was like a rope-a-dope setup, though. You know that, right?
I don't buy into your theory.
No,
we'll see it play out, but I don't buy into
I think the
theory.
entire thing was a rope-a-dope setup.
All right.
I do.
We'll find out.
All right, let's get to enough already. What you're sick of, Paul, I'll go right back to you.
Yeah, for me, this is a toss-up between those on the right, like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, trying to normalize and even defend vile individuals like sex predator Andrew Tate. But then on the other side, we have the truly deranged, lonely, sick women behind the Free Luigi movement, who are standing outside of the courthouse with signs like they're at a Backstreet Boy concert, romanticizing someone who killed an insurance executive in cold blood. These women are deranged. They might be a danger to themselves, and they need intervention immediately.
Amen. Todd?
Steve and Sarah, you both talked earlier about talking to the audience about issues of really incredible importance, but you're just had this pit in your stomach. Nothing's going to be done. That's why I'm sick of Epstein.
Wow, that was the exact same thing.
You guys have the same answer?
Yeah. That is the exact same answer. Sorry, Todd, go ahead.
No, well, obviously it's for obvious reasons. We just talk about it and talk about it. What is the point?
How many stories have we seen this year? How much new evidence has come out? And then somebody that's like 2 years old. No, I had that like 5 months ago. It's almost impossible to keep track of where we actually are. And I think that's probably the point at this point.
Hear me out. They could have just done what they told us they were going to do. And when they took over office, just put them all out there like they did with the JFK files. Just put them all out there and say, you guys have at it. Go knock yourselves out. All right, we're going to go now to governing the rest. They could have just done that.
And yet.
And so the fact that they didn't makes you think, right? All right, where am I going next? Sarah, I've got to go to you still. Go ahead.
Yes, my enough already is not political at all, and please forgive me if you have not yet heard. It's more pop culture, but it's very personal for me, Steve. It's very personal for me because my enough of, what I'm sick of, is 6'7". I would be so happy if I never heard this term again. And again, I don't know if any of you have heard this. It's all the rage with the kids around me. Oh, yeah. Every time someone says the numbers 6 and 7, it's like a thing. And they do the hand movements like this, and nobody really knows where it came from or why they're doing it, but all the kids still do it. And it drives me absolutely mad.
Preach.
I wish I knew, but I just wanted to stop.
In my day, we had standards. And whenever somebody said the number 69, we said nice and moved on. All right.
I think it's the point is to get adults agitated.
I got to tell you, I heard this a ton. I had no idea what it meant until last week.
Even my daughters ask him,
I had no clue what it meant.
They're like,
what does it mean?
Like, I
still don't know.
Like Anna had to come to me like a year ago and say, Dad, you need to. She went Jonah Hill gif on me. you got to stop dropping Netflix and chill on your show. I'm like, why? He goes, she goes, it doesn't mean what you think it means anymore. We changed the meaning. You got to stop dropping that. I had no clue. I'm old and out of touch now.
Wait, you didn't know?
I didn't. I thought Netflix and chill just meant you got a movie and watched it together. That's what I thought it meant.
I don't think it's ever meant that.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
it's always been a eufemism.
Well, that's what Steve was doing.
that's what you do. When you're 52, that's what you and your wife do. Just get a movie on Netflix and sit there and watch it. That's what you do.
Do you remember, Steve? We are a far cry. Do you remember? This was 15 years ago. I came and shadowed you at WHO one afternoon when you were still on locally. And I asked you had a liner, something along the lines of puff, puff, pass, man. And I asked you, what does that mean? We are a far cry from those days.
Yes, I remember that as I knocked my own cord out of my laptop. Yes, I do remember that. Yes. I used to be cool once. I used to know what things meant once. But here's the thing. It's weird and scary to me. I'm actually proud that I don't know. Like, I'm so proud that I have no idea how Instagram works. I've never been on it. And I just hire my daughter to run it for me.
Nice.
You get to the age where you're like, I think I've learned enough. I'm good. You guys, the young people can do that now. I'm going to say enough already. People taking money from foreign countries to be America first or something. And my favorite one is a quote, black gay conservative who took some outstanding photos recently from his balcony hotel room in Doha, there in Qatar, to talk about how eye-opening of an experience and being in Qatar was. Disregard the fact that Qatar considers homosexual acts among men to be crimes punishable by flogging and up to 7 years in prison. All right, so that aside, okay. You can't make this stuff up, man.
Nope.
You cannot make this stuff. I mean, he's got his like sport coat over his shoulder with his sunglasses, and he's looking like just, gay chic. All right, it's like he stepped out of a Bowie video, okay, from Club 54 there down the street from where Paul lives. All right, and it's Doha. Okay.
Nicole Maliotakis is my representative. Okay. I live in the Purple District.
And if he went down there and propositioned a guy that could literally flog him right there on the spot without a trial. Okay. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. All right. Worst lie. I'm going to go first on this one. The shrieks that Trump eviscerating Iran's nuclear arsenal was going to take us to World War III. The exact opposite happened. Now, let me clarify this. I don't have a problem with people who were concerned about it going in. Mm-hmm. Lots of my friends were concerned about it going in. My problem is, after the event occurred and said concerns never happened, I kind of think, like J.D. Vance said a few months ago, I kind of think when you're wrong about something like that, you kind of owe it to people to say, guess I blew that one. Yeah. By the way, how wrong are you? Folks, there are now over 2,000 Jews. That may not seem like a lot to you. There's barely like 2,000 Jews in the world. That's what's so funny about all the Jewish conspiracies, and I'm only slightly exaggerating. All right, there's not many Jews. They're like less than 1% of the population of the planet. There's over 2,000 Jews right now working full-time in Saudi Arabia, for frickin' Allah's sake, okay? Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Jordan and Qatar were shooting down Iranian drones in response to the Israeli-American attack earlier this year. This could not have been more wrong. Again, I don't fault anybody for their concerns. Yeah. I mean, none. For these concerns going in, none at all. But I kind of think when the exact opposite happened and you maintain your narrative despite the evidence to the contrary, I think maybe we got to start asking, was this really a concern or a narrative that you had? You know what I'm trying to say? So that's mine. Todd.
Well, we're back to that pit of the stomach thing again. We talk about it has to be done, but it's not going to. But now we've got luminaries such as The Atlantic and CNN, and I believe the New York Times agreeing with me. COVID vaccines are not safe. Told you. In 2020.
What?
I'm on my 4th YouTube page for telling you. That's why. All right. Okay, Paul. Worst lie.
For me, I was tempted to use something the president said about he who saves the country cannot violate any law, but I'm actually going to go with something Mamdani said during his victory speech, that there is no problem too large for the government to solve or too small for it to care about. For anyone that cares about personal liberty and doesn't want the government encroaching on all aspects of their lives, that is a sentiment that we need to rebuke with force. And that is the worst lie of 2025.
That's a good answer, too.
One.
Yeah, Aaron.
Worst lie is Maryland father Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is soon to be Ugandan man,
dude abides.
El Salvador man. And just last week, actually, we learned some rando, I think it was Obama-appointed judge, said no, he has to be released for reasons. He's going to get deported somewhere, somehow, some way. I don't quite understand why the media and the left, sorry for the redundancy, continues to pour so much political capital into this one case, because he's going to get deported anyway. I mean, I guess they can bludgeon you, but this completely blew up in their face. It sounded like he was either adjacent to or actually participating in various forms of trafficking. So now they're coming to the behest of traffic. It was just a freaking mess, but they're continuing to run with it.
Great answer. Sarah?
The Epstein files are on my desk waiting for me to review them, and then they will be released is the greatest, the worst lie for me. I'm sorry to Todd. I know you just said that you were sick of hearing about it. This will be maybe my last time saying it to you, Todd, but it's just something so egregious about the binders that they printed out for all of these influencers that, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this, they were invited to the White House for a completely separate reason. Like they didn't go in there.
Yeah.
Asking, right. It was almost, I mean, it felt like a setup when I talked to them about it. They were called in there for the first administration meeting, and then they were handed these binders by Pam Bondi and her team, and then foisted out the door in front of all of these news cameras who took pictures of them holding binders that said Epstein files on them. I mean, to me, that is just so egregious. That is not an accident. That is not like an oopsie. That is just an egregious thing that she did there. And it was just very nasty of her to not only say that she was going to release these files, say that they were on her desk, but then we were supposed to believe, what are you talking about? Silly you. Those never actually existed. It's just really gross to me.
That's setting up your own players to fail on purpose. I mean, that's a coach calling a play he knows isn't going to work and making you go in there and run it anyway. And you take someone like the gal that lives of TikTok. She's amongst maybe the most important influencer on the right of the last 5 years. And you put her in a position like that where she has to risk discrediting herself and just sabotage her like that, just politically inexcusable is what that was. I cannot believe she survived that, let alone what happened the next 9 months after that. That is a great answer. All right, destined for political stardom. Sarah, I'll go right back to you.
Destined for political stardom. I hate to be redundant here because I mentioned him earlier, but JD Vance, he was born for this. He was born for this moment. He's the very obvious front runner for 2028, and that's my pick.
All right, Aaron.
He is until he's not anymore, but it's Zoran Mamdani. He's destined for stardom until he's not, and I just don't see. Unfortunately, I don't see any way around that. He is very charismatic. He is, if you strip aside some of the just duplicitous and evil parts of his worldview, he's got a wonderful singing voice. He is very charismatic, kind of likable on the surface. And so that's a toxic combination, or a good combination, depending on your perspective or vantage point. So he is destined for political stardom.
I went with Marco Rubio. I don't think anybody's star has risen more this year. I think, Sarah, you brought this up before. I mean, he's been a shining star in this administration. And frankly, if we saw this guy in 2014 and 15, and not the guy who stood up with the Gang of Eight and McCain and Gramnesty, he's president of the United States. Trump probably never runs for president. I'm working for him instead of Ted Cruz because he wanted me to. I mean, much of modern American political history changes if this is the Marco Rubio we had 10 years ago compared to the guy you see now. Todd.
It's Erica Kirk. She is now the first lady of the American right, and I expect that's how it's going to stay for quite some time. It's obviously circumstances.
Yeah, it's under the worst possible circumstances.
But she's incredibly dignified, classy, smart as heck, and we need her to continue to show us the level of strength that is possible in the face of evil, because a lot of us just don't want to look it in the eye. She's been forced to, and what a blessing she has given us and how she's handled this.
That's a phenomenal answer. Paul, good luck following that.
Unfortunately, building off of what Aaron said, it's democratic socialists. Unemployment is at the highest rate it's been since 2021. The median homebuyer age has gone from 39 to 59 over the past 15 years. CEO
You're just talking
pay-
about your state, right? You're talking. Are you talking nationally or just your state?
nationally.
Nationally. Okay. Wanted to clarify that. Go ahead.
CEO pay is up 35% over the past 5 years, while worker pay has not kept up with inflation, while the CEO to worker pay gap is at 632 to 1. We have a record low 25% of Americans who believe that hard work can improve their standard of living, and a record high 58% of Americans who want more government intervention in their life. So if that is not a recipe for more democratic socialism to rear its head, I don't know what is.
You're just doing the math.
Yep.
Just doing the math.
Yep. All right. Destined for political oblivion. Paul, I'll go back to you.
Well, let's not forget that Joy Reid was fired from MSNBC earlier this year, and I haven't heard from her since, so she's certainly a candidate. But aside from her, I do think, despite my agreeing with her more than I ever thought I would, Marjorie Taylor Greene is probably headed for political oblivion. She said she doesn't want to run for office, so I mean, she might not, but even if she did, I don't see what sort of winning coalition she could put together.
I literally predicted yesterday on this show that she was going to be a guest host on The View in 2026, and that news broke the very next day.
Didn't hear that. Okay.
Yeah. So she's destined for political oblivion, but she's on the Liz Cheney career track. There's alternative career paths for her for sure.
All
Todd.
right.
The need for this to happen is on a Mitt Romney eat the damn cheeseburger level in terms of what the right has to do. Ilhan Omar, strip her of her citizenship, pack her up, ship her out. This is a no-brainer. Get it done.
Aaron.
Pam Bondi, and I'm saying that more wishing than anything else.
My answer is so-called gay marriage on the right. If you look at, in October, a YouGov poll, and YouGov polls always skew younger because they're exclusively online. YouGov poll showed only 54% of Republicans still supported gay marriage, down 16 points from where Gallup had it in 2021. I'm sorry, that was the country at large. Among Republicans, support has plummeted to just 38%, which is down 17 points since 2022. And I because as a movement, it just was unable to mature. The guys like Andrew Sullivan and Dave Rubin tried to tell him, we're warning you what's going to happen. You're going to create a reverb. You're going to fulfill every show Steve Deace ever did on this topic, and it's happening now. All the trans stuff, all the guys on TikTok with the terrible eyeliner and beards, and their sadly manufactured babies that they're adopting. The reverb on this is a motherless goat, and it's swinging hard, okay? Because it was just never able to accept a win, take the win, and instead fulfill that Robert Bork was correct when he wrote Slouching to Gomorrah. Sarah.
Mine is the big fan of mine, actually, the fake ghetto hood rat Jasmine Crockett, who decided that it would be a good idea to run for Senate in Texas against John Cornyn, who will eventually be put out to pasture, Wesley Hunt, and Ken Paxton in the general election. So Jasmine Crockett, it's been real. I won't say it's been fun. It hasn't been. I'm sure we'll see you on MS Now, but bye-bye. We're sick of you.
Even James Carville is railing against Jasmine Crockett's decision to run. So you've lost when James Carville is speaking.
You know what? You just prompted me. My wife got a DM about a month ago from his wife. Mary Matlin just DM'd her out of the blue, said she listens to the show, was hearing me talk about Carville and had some thoughts. We completely forgot to respond to her, and we need to do that. You just reminded me of that.
Oh, my gosh.
If we just ghosted Mary Matlin, okay?
Did you guys see that there was an article about how the NRSC astroturfed Jasmine Crockett running for Senate?
Mm-hmm. And then she ended up doing it.
Yep. She fell for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Yeah. All right, we'll come back. We're going to pick it up with Best Political Theater when we return. Stay tuned.
The Steve Deace Show.
All right, back here on your yearly look at the year that was, the year-end Deace Group. I'm Steve Deace with Todd Erzin, Paul Alexander, Sara Gonzales, Aaron McIntyre. Final segment, we'll get through as many of these as we can, and then for subscribers at blazetv.com/Deace, we'll finish the year for you there in the overtime. All right, Best Political Theater. Sarah.
Best political theater for me is basically every one of President Trump's Air Force One press conferences, from Quiet Piggy to one of the latest ones where someone was leaving the bathroom and President Trump was standing in front of the bathroom door blocking him. Like, it's all beautiful. It's all great. We've gotten so many great moments from President Trump's press conferences on Air Force One. That's what I'm going with.
The one with the guy trying to get out of the bathroom.
It was like, they're all so funny. I can't even pick one.
Oh, gosh. All right, Todd, go ahead.
Trump Iran bombing. It just had some 80s rock and roll kind of feel to it, you know?
Yeah. I kid you not. When you and I were in, where we were doing an event. Oh, it was the event we did with Charlie.
Yeah.
No, you and I were
California.
We were in California for an event, right? Oh, it was Seth Gruber's event, is what it was.
Yeah.
And you and I are getting ready to fly out. All right. And the guy running our gate is dressed in camo. I'm not making this up. All right. The next morning, after we did do this kind of 80s bombing of Iran, the guy running our gate, I think we flew Allegiant out there, I want to say, and because it was a straight flight. And the guy running our gate is wearing a camo hat. He grabs this big ass speaker. Again, not making this up. He grabs this big ass speaker when his shift starts, takes it outside. All right. Because at this airport, at Long Beach Airport, you board outdoors. He takes this big ass speaker like it's right, like a ghetto blaster out of the 80s, man. All right. Plugs it in, turns it on as we're loading into our plane, and it's Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins. I kid you not. All right. Kid you not. That's what he did the morning after. That's what he did the morning after. And you and I are looking at each other thinking,
feel the need.
The need for speed. America has healed, indeed. All right. Best political theater, Paul.
I would say the Tucker Carlson Ted Cruz podcast. That was one of the most gripping political dramas I've witnessed in a while. It was substantive. It wasn't the empty calories that we're used to from a lot of political content. And I was thoroughly enthralled by their discussion.
You were? Because I got to tell you, somebody who knows both of them, I covered my eyes through most of it. I'm like, I know both of you guys are smarter than this. I know you are. I know you are. I know you are. That was kind of my reaction to it. All right. Best political theater. Todd, you go ahead.
I already ran.
So I thought Sarah went.
No, I
She
went.
went.
Trump
Todd
and Iran.
I did.
Okay. Aaron, you go. All right.
Have you noticed something? We have not had one of these for several months, and I think it's a pretty obvious reason why. I think the best political theater is anytime RFK Jr. gets called in for a hearing. I think there's a very pretty obvious reason why that hasn't happened for several months.
Yes.
Because he just sits there and tells them, you took this money from Pharma, you took this money from Pharma, you took this money from Pharma, and bada bing, bada boom, we haven't had a hearing in front of Congress featuring RFK Jr. for several months now. So that's the best political theater.
It's just a matter, is it a 1 Zin hearing? Is it a 3 Zin hearing? I mean, how many, you're just going to get an idea. How much nicotine is this guy hopped up on, right? In terms of how much ordinance is about to get laid down, right? All right. I really did not want to put her here, but I wanted for sure to give her an honor, and I wasn't sure where else to put her. But Erica Kirk's speech, the Friday night, even before we get to the memorial, but the first time almost any of us had heard from her. The speech she came out and gave that Friday night is one of the most prophetic things I have ever witnessed in real time in my life. And I couldn't find another place to put it. So I'm just going to go with that inspiring and stirring speech that she gave that Friday night. It was absolutely incredible. Worst political theater, Todd?
The government shutdown. Like, what the hell was that?
I just realized I forgot there was one. Yeah.
This is literally what I have written down. What government shutdown? ?
Yeah.
All right. So we knocked out that one. And
do you remember how intense those used to be? Whether it was ridiculous or not, it was still intense. This was just like, is it still going on?
Yeah, I know.
And we actually kind of thought that was partially a good thing too. But in terms of like who's gaining what I have no idea what.
For worst political theater, I've got to harken back to something that you mentioned earlier, Sarah. Whatever stunt that Pam Bondi thought she was pulling back in February with those Epstein files. To me, that was the worst political theater. Sarah.
Worst political theater for me was the sedition training video put on by Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin and all of these other blowhards who were there to encourage, I'm sure in a totally unrehearsed video, there to encourage all of the military members that it is okay to not follow orders. But then when asked exactly what illegal orders they were talking about over and over again, couldn't actually give a solid answer because there wasn't one. So that one for me, the video was so cringy. It's a bunch of failed theater kids in the Democrat Party, and that's going to be my answer.
Paul, that's a good one.
It is. The Texas Democrats fleeing the state to avoid the redistricting vote was akin to a child throwing a temper tantrum after they get grounded. And if you watch any of progressive media's breathless wall-to-wall coverage, you would have thought these ragtag group of Democrats were literally saving the human race when it was really nothing more than just a tantrum that accomplished nothing. So for me, that was get the nod.
You know, can I change my answer, though, to all the threats Republicans made to arrest them for this that they didn't follow through on? Can I say that was the worst political theater?
Which I always said. I said Governor Abbott is not going to do anything to these people. Watch. And of course, they just let it go quietly into the night.
Most underreported story of the year. Sarah, I'll start with you.
The Supreme Court upholding the Tennessee ban on child mutilation and sterilization done in the name of gender-affirming care.
Good answer. Paul.
The CIA concluding that lab leak theory, which I was told was a baseless conspiracy and used as justification for deplatforming people, is now the most likely theory for the origin of COVID. And to take it one step further, back in March, we learned that Angela Merkel suppressed a report from her own German intelligence agency that said with high conviction the virus leaked from a lab.
After a fair trial. Of course. After a fair trial, of course. My most underreported story of the year, how Arab countries, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt actually sided with Israel over Iran throughout much of the year. And frankly, throughout much of the last few years since the Abrahamic Accords. And seemed to care less about what Israel was doing in Gaza. And they seemed to care a lot less than even a lot of influencers on the right that argued and debated it over the last year. There was a lot more angst amongst influencers on the right about the Israeli operations in Gaza than they were in Mecca and then there were in Cairo or Amman. I found that to be absolutely fascinating. Most underreported story of the year, Aaron.
The Chinese SIM farms that were discovered in the tri-state area that were dismantled by Secret Service this fall. They had hundreds of thousands of SIMs hooked up in this farm that could have absolutely crashed emergency services and telecommunication in the event of an emergency. And they're linking them to China. If that's not an act of war, I don't know what is. And that kind of went under the radar.
Which is probably why it went under the radar. Todd.
Arresting Katie Hobbs, because it hasn't happened yet. But she is so dirty. There's stories that come out of just totally on the take. There's people, we talk about Tim Walz and all that stuff. It seems like there's at least a little there in terms of being able to, make certain trains run on time. She's an obvious moron. Of course she's on the take. Of course they stole that election. Please, for the love of God, don't make me say this again next year. Arrest her.
All right, everybody got to go on that category, right? All right, overreported story of the year, Aaron.
Now, this is going to seem counterintuitive, but I only mean it because we really didn't have any other explanation than it's nothing to be worried about. The drones. Do you remember we did like 2 weeks of shows and 1 week of shows to open up the year this year on the drone story. And we were just told once Trump got into office, that's nothing to worry about.
That meme with what's his face on the gallows. First time? That comes to mind as you say that, Aaron.
That's a great answer. And it's convicting because, I was obsessed with these things for weeks. I was, man.
Mystifying.
Over Christmas break last year, all I thought about were these freaking drones. I followed every story. I watched every clip. I did that for 2 weeks at home over Christmas break last year. I was drone obsessed. I kept texting you guys, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Wow. All right, they got me. All right, they got me. You got me. All right, Todd.
Where are we now? Oh, the
overreported story of the year.
The White House ballroom. Good grief. How is this? You hate him so much, this is a bad thing? He's gifting the nation a ballroom. Shut up, everybody.
Paul, most overreported.
Do you remember back in January for a week, there was a mania over China's new AI language model, DeepSeek, that was going to make Google and ChatGPT obsolete. It was created for pennies on the dollar and in lightning speed, and then it just disappeared. I haven't heard about it in about 10 months.
My answer is the Jews. All right. Somehow, a scant population of people who could manage to have their own country for 1,800 years until there was enough sympathy post-Holocaust have been secretly running things the entire time. Who knew? Who knew? And I love it whenever you can always tell too. It demonstrates self-induced retardation. Every time someone falls into this pit, they think like they've just discovered something nobody else. If you want to know who in the new year am I going to have to write off, I'm going to give you. Ready, guys? You guys want? So you know what? I've raised 3 kids. None of them hate me, so I'm going to call that a success. All right, not perfect, but none of them hate me so far. I've graduated to Papa, Grandpa. So in my old age, can I give you the Steve Deace life hacks?
Sure.
As you go into the new year and you're thinking, all right, who are the people I'm going to have to prune? Who are the relationships that I'm going to have to cut off? I'm going to give you a certified 100% metaphysical certitude, because you don't want to overreact. You want to give, mercy triumphs over judgment, and people have serious questions. And this is an era, obviously, to entertain maybe some alternative views, as much as we've all been lied to. Fair? I think that's fair, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how do you know, though, that you're that the person in your world is about to go full crackpot, and you're going to have to, you're literally seconds away from cutting them off? When you get an alert on your phone and this person says, have you ever heard of Ashkenazi Jews, and what are your thoughts? I promise you, you will be cutting them off sooner rather than later. That relationship, that's them essentially saying we have broken up. They just don't realize it, but that is them essentially excommunicating themselves from your life. If they say, what are your thoughts on Ashkenazi Jews? It's over at that point. And that's one less person whose calls you have to return. See? I'm just dispensing life advice.
Yeah, that's
all I'm doing.
Good advice.
All right. Everybody get their most overreported story of the year. Did I skip somebody?
I haven't given mine.
All right, Sarah, you go last on that category. Go ahead.
Well, I know that we already referenced the issue, but the federal government blowing up every single time they blow up another Venezuelan drug boat who is destined to come to America to kill more innocent Americans by way of drugs. I'm so sick of every time another boat is hit, and we have to hear it on the Washington Post, and we have to hear it on CNN and MS Now, how we're supposed to be convinced that Pete Hegseth is actually a traitor to this country for protecting Americans. It is done. Americans are not listening anymore. We're sick of hearing about it. It's overreported.
All right. Biggest government waste. I'll go first. Every single dollar spent on Ukraine. Every last one. And for all the talk about funding foreign nations, particularly Israel, we gave 115% more money this year to Israel than we did. 115% more money to Ukraine than we did to Israel. And this entire whole war is a scam with rival factions of would-be tyrants and corruptocrats fighting a urination contest right out of the Habsburg era that led to World War I. No good guys. The EU hates Russia so much, they're still buying their oil. All right, the entire thing. It's basically George Soros's playground and the Davos crowd playground versus the fever dreams of Vladimir Putin, who thinks because he's got the largest arsenal of nukes left over from 1987, he's actually some real player on the world stage when he couldn't even construct toilets for the Olympics. The whole damn thing's a joke. The people suffering in the middle of it, not a joke. But the geopolitical aspect of this and drawing us into it and the amount of time, talent, and treasure wasted on it, no Mitch McConnell, who in between strokes once infamously said, this is the most important issue in the world. Okay, no, it's not. And it never was. Whole damn thing's a scam. And frankly, Trump should have, right after the meeting that Sarah talked about earlier, should have just said, we'll show you out. Have a nice life, kid. We've got a country to save. Go get him. Todd.
Somali aid, arrest Tim Walz. And everybody knows it. This is not
the
secret.
welfare scam.
It's just a matter of what we do about it now, which is probably nothing.
Paul.
This hasn't actually happened yet, but if Congress agrees for the rebranding of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, it's estimated that will cost taxpayers $2 billion, and I have no idea how that makes us any safer.
All right. Sarah.
I'm going to say, listen, first of all, I'm going to say this is one of the hardest topics for me to come up with because I consider so much of what our government spends its money on as wasteful. But for purposes of this conversation, I will go ahead and say the $20 million spent for Sesame Street in Iraq, where I assume they were learning that M is for Mohammed and A is for Allahu Akbar, I guess. But it was called Alam Simsim Iraq. And I don't know if you guys heard this. The goal was actually to promote inclusion among ethnic groups, which I'm sure was a total waste of time because, they're not doing nice things to people over there if you don't agree with them and their religion. So total waste of money, $20 million, Sesame Street in Iraq.
S is for Sunni. That's good enough for me. D is for dead if you're not a Sunni. Was that the show? Is that what it was?
That's your next album, Steve.
This is the first I didn't even heard that.
Anna Deace, warm up those pipes.
All right, Aaron, go.
Second thing to make the list, at least my list this year, I'd never heard of, or I hadn't heard of back in December of last year. There's something called the U.S. Court of International Trade. Didn't know that existed this time last year. They try to insert themselves into the whole tariff kerfuffle. I expect next year I'll learn that there's some sort of U.S. Court of Courts or U.S. Court or U.S. Court. Apparently there's a court for every single issue under the sun, and I think it's probably a little bit of a waste.
Oh, that was good. All right, we are about out of time. Sara, you are not obligated to stay, but we'd love you if you have time to stick for the overtime to finish up.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So we've got 90 seconds. Paul, since you've not been, again, you've been, busy over there with reason, not tuned in as much as you used to be.
Yeah.
Over in 90 seconds, what was the most shocking answer that you heard you were not expecting?
You've been much more critical about the state of the right than I was anticipating. It doesn't shock me, but it warms my heart to see because there's been a lot of grift on the right, and I'm glad.
I get invited to all the parties on our side. Oh, I get invited to all of them because people love hearing this.
Well, especially considering where you were, last year. I know the attempted assassination on Trump really kind of activated you in a way that I hadn't seen, and to have that not cloud your judgment and the fact that you're all still able to kind of call balls and strikes warms my heart.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. That's it for our penultimate episode, which I used to love to say, but now everybody's saying it, so it's not as cool. All right, so we're going to stick around, do the overtime for Blaze TV subscribers, and finish up, including our Person of the Year, as we get down to the final furlong here of our year-end Deace Group. Tomorrow, the final show of 2025, as we look back on the year that was, the biggest stories, the predictions we made that most didn't probably come true, and more. All right, so hopefully you guys are tuned in for that tomorrow as well. Until then, go hard. Romans 8:28.